Today's episode of Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff is being brought to you by Kinky Green. Kinky Green offers sustainable wellness solutions that alleviate pain and accentuate pleasure. Using hemp-derived CBD, Kinky Green is exactly what your body needs to naturally support sleep, mood, muscle recovery, and even your romantic life. To find out more about their complete line of products, including the best-selling Muscle Melt Pain Balm, visit shopkinkygreen.com. All listeners of this program can receive an extra 15% off when you use offer code Dr. Tiff. Exclusions may apply. Now let's start the show. I'm back. I'm so excited to be back on the season 2 premiere of Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. I am Dr. Tiffany Davis Henry, a licensed psychotherapist, sex therapist, intimacy coordinator, host, expert, all the things. And this is the first episode of the second season of Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff. I'm so excited to be back. Oh my gosh, there's been a lot going on. And really and truly, it's only been like 4 months. Really only 4 months that I've been gone, but a lot has happened in the 4 months. Today's episode, I really just want to catch you up, welcome you back, catch you up, and just kind of let you know what to expect moving forward, and then also give you a little bit of information of the day, if you will. How's everybody been doing? Hope you've been doing well. Happy New Year. Didn't get to say happy holidays. So happy holidays, happy New Year. I am hoping you're strutting, if you will, strutting into 2024 with the best intentions, and just ready to just tackle any and every obstacle that may come your way. My prayer certainly is that no obstacles come your way, but certainly we live on earth. Okay. And while we're alive, we will suffer a few obstacles, have to jump a few hurdles, and all of that is okay, because we'll be walking into this next season with excellent intentions and just being prepared to take on whatever comes our way. Right. So hello. I'm back. Like I said, it's been like 4 months or so since our last episode. And while y'all feel like I might have, just fallen off the face of the earth, she's been here the whole time. She's been here. She's been living. She's been traveling, doing lots of stuff, and really just, kind of practicing what I preach, taking very good care of myself, doing, I've had the opportunity and pleasure to go to Mexico during that time. I've done LA, I've done Jamaica. If you follow my personal Instagram at Dr. Tiffany TV, you've seen some of that stuff. Really and truly, y'all, I do appreciate you guys following me on Intimate Details Podcast. Follow me on Dr. Tiffany TV too, because then you get my personal business and the things that I talk about that I don't talk about on the podcast. But where it's at, honestly, is in my stories, because I don't get too personal in my feed, but my opinion, my sense of humor, the things that tickle me, the things that I'm passionate about usually land somewhere in my story. So if you want more insight into who I am, what I do, what I find funny, and what I'm pissed off about, those things typically will land in my stories at Dr. Tiffany TV. So yeah, done a lot of traveling, also done a lot of rebranding, and really thinking long and hard about my businesses and things like that. I've gone into great detail the first episode of the first season of Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff to just kind of give you a rundown of who I am and all the things that I do professionally, and some personally. So if you're new to the podcast and new to me, again, welcome, but go back and listen to the first episode of the first podcast of the first season, because that's going to give you a good overview of Dr. Tiff. So in the last 4 months, I've really been thinking about how I wanted to move forward into this new year, into 2024, the things that I really wanted to work on more professionally and personally, and quite honestly, how to diversify and monetize those things so that The work doesn't seem so much like work. Work seems a little less like work the more you get paid for it. At least that's how I feel. I feel like, you know, there are a lot of things that I do for fun and would do whether I was getting paid or not, but it sure is nice to get a nice check for those things that you enjoy doing and would be doing anyway. And so I've been really creative. I've listened. We had some excellent guests in the first season, and a few that came on and talked to us about different ways to make money. And I've taken some of those principles that I've learned from guests like Tiffany Gatlin, owner of Latched and Hooked, guests like Michaela Pabone of Dressed in Joy. They both graced us with an interview last season and really dropped some nuggets and words of wisdom on how to I guess monetize different aspects of things that you're already doing, different ways to make money. And so I looked at those episodes, listened to those episodes, and really, thought about ways in which I could be doing a little bit more with what I already have, the content I already have in my phone, the trips that I'm taking, the experiences that are already, within the realm of my life, nothing extra, but making something extra out of those things. So, been doing a lot of that. And this is where you guys come in and where the podcast comes in. The other thing that I've been really focused on is being kind of, I don't want to say niching down because I resist the urge to niche down. And I know that it is important from a social media perspective, and especially as a content creator, it's super important to kind of niche down. I do agree with that. However, it's super hard for me. Surprise. The girl with 20 jobs said it's super hard to do one thing. Yeah, no, it is super hard for me to kind of niche down, but I really have been trying to pare down my web presence, the websites, all of the offerings that I have, so that I'm just doing, so that I'm being very strategic about the content at which I put out, but also as I'm trying to garner partnerships and collaborations, it's a little bit easier when you are when you do kind of pigeonhole yourself in those little boxes or silos, because you become known for those things. And what really, I've always resisted that. But the thing that kind of pushed me over the edge in the last 4 months is I had, I haven't been doing nothing, right? I've been visiting other podcasts. Um, if someone asked me to, appear on a show or do something like that as an expert, I do those things as well. And that's been really fun. But I did appear on a podcast. And the podcast was, oh my gosh, how am I forgetting this? Where's my phone? The podcast was with a friend of mine, Coriel, and it's on the Grown Woman TV network, which we should probably have Coriel on the podcast this season because she's an amazing, amazing woman with just a phenomenal story, going from being a teacher to just a serial entrepreneur, but in a way that has really elevated and helped so many women, just be bosses. So the name of the podcast is Wifed Up Now What? It's on Apple, YouTube Plus, Roku, so you can watch it as well. But I talk with them about, their podcast is all about now that you are a wife, like, as women, some, not all, perhaps aspire to get married one day, and really are, as we transition into wifehood, maybe having an adjustment. Like, this was the goal. I wanted to be a wife, but now, like, how do I do this wife thing? I don't necessarily, I may or may not have a model for how to do that. I may not know what I need to do, but I want this to be successful. And so that's what their podcast is about. It's very fun. And I had the opportunity to be a guest on that podcast. So I'm going to bring this around the barn, I promise. So I had an opportunity to sit and talk with them. And one of the things that, and I'll put a link to it down in the show notes so you guys can go back and look at it and visit it and show them some love. One of the things that was asked of me during this podcast was about sexless marriages. Now, we talked a little bit about sex, and you guys know that I'm a sex therapist, sex expert, traveled all over the United States and in the Caribbean to speak with folks about sex, sexuality issues, all of that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all will hear me sniffling. I'm going all over the place today. I got to reel it in. When I'm nervous or when I'm anxious, my nose starts to run. So that's one telltale sign when I'm super excited or nervous or anxious, my nose starts to run. Same thing happened to me when I was giving my dissertation. So anyway, back to that podcast. Okay. So they asked about sexless marriage. And I was answering that question, and they took a soundbite from that question and posted it. And as I live and breathe today, looking at the insights, that particular post had 167,000 views as of today. 167,000 views. By far the most views I have on anything on my timeline. And it was a collaborative post. So it's not just it wasn't just exposed to like my audience, it was theirs as well. But I was exposed to a lot more people who did not know me. I think what I learned from that experience in having such a humongous response to the content that was in that particular 1 minute clip is that people are interested in this information. And I don't know why I didn't know that. I mean, I do know that. I know that people want to hear about relationships. I don't know that they want to hear about sex in their relationships and intimacy and how to maintain their relationships. I guess what I had, if I'm being honest, what I had maybe not put enough value in is my part in that. In imparting that wisdom and giving that information is something that I do without thinking. And they say that, if you're trying to think about a course or a digital product or some sort of offering that you want to charge for, it's usually the thing that you do without thinking, that you think, people don't need to know this because, nobody's going to pay to know this because it's common knowledge, or I do this. It's not something that I think is of value. Of course, I know it's a value because people come to me, they pay me to do this all the time. But in that interview, I was just talking, they asked a question, I answered it, and it was just a thing. They reposted that particular clip. And like I said, we're at 167,000 views on this one clip. And I'm like, okay, I started to dissect it. Whenever you have a, content that goes like that, you really do want to look at it, dissect it, and figure out, okay, what is it about this particular piece of content that people are responding to? Is it the fact that I'm gorgeous? That wasn't it. And I'll tell you, that particular day I was in the midst of I felt the worst that I've felt probably all year. I was in the midst of having a horrible ear infection, so I could only hear out of one ear. I was hoping that didn't come across. Of course, I'm sniffling because I'm nervous, because that's what I do. And I didn't feel that I was at my A game for this particular interview, but I had committed to doing it, so I showed up because that's what we do. And so I looked back and I'm like, okay, what is it about this particular interview that people are responding to, that people are hungry for, that they are gravitating towards? Because I'm also seeing that in the analytics, I'm seeing that they're not just watching it one time. They're watching it multiple times, and they're sharing it, and they're saving it. So this is something that was crucial enough for them, important enough for them to share it with people that they're involved with, or that they love, or that might need the information. critical enough that they want to remember it, retain it. So they watch it more than one time. They're reposting it, all of those things. So what I came up with was I believe there was some takeaway there in that little clip. And like I said, I will put a link to the clip and also the actual full episode so you can see both of those. You know, I think it was a takeaway. I think it was a subject matter. What was funny to me about this particular clip across, if you're someone who does social or content creation and all of that, that one of the important things that they tell you to always have is some sort of hook, the verbiage or lettering on top of whatever your reel is, which basically hooks someone who, most people when they're scrolling, on Instagram, they're not listening with the sound on. But if you have some word images there that are telling you what's being said, you're more likely to tap there so you can hear the audio. So what they had across the front of the reel was sexless marriage. Now, in this clip, I don't really talk about sexless marriage. The clip is not about sexless marriage, but the caption had some information that I had given within the realm of this conversation on sexless marriage. And I think that was part of what drew people in. It wasn't necessarily, it was the content, but it was the fact that they thought they were clicking on to figure out, okay, what the hell is a sexless marriage? And how do I make sure I don't have one? And if I do have one, I need to know how to fix it. So it grabbed people. And then I think they stuck around for the content and were truly, I guess, inspired, impressed, or needed more information. Right. So I just thought, like, okay, if this is what my people want and I have it, I must give it. And I must give it more abundantly, more freely. I need to double down on it. And I need to take ownership of it. Because again, this wasn't my podcast. This was someone else's podcast. And your girl has a history of showing up for others more. I won't say more than I show up for myself, but what I do have a history of is showing up on someone else's program and them understanding what they're getting when they hire me or bring me on as an expert. And I know that they understand what they're getting because they ask me back. I don't just go on, a GMA or a Today Show one time. Been multiple times, so I understand that they understand my value and my worth and my knowledge. I think that I might have undervalued my worth and my knowledge because I don't lead with that. If you know me personally, you know that, like, I cringe. I'm doing the introduction now because it's what's kind of required as a host of a podcast. I need to tell you who I am. I need to tell you why what I have to say is important. And I need to build trust, with you guys as an authority, as an expert. I think when I have to promote myself, it is really difficult for me. People are surprised when I say that I'm an introvert. And it's true because it's the idea of self-promotion is always kind of like something that I shy away from. I'm not very comfortable with it. Which is why the profession of being a psychotherapist is really great for me because it's not about me. Right. But in business and things that we want to do, we do have to step outside of ourselves and understand that I am the business. And so I have to promote me, the business. So in terms of what I want to do and how I want to proceed in this new iteration of Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff, in this new iteration of at Dr. Tiffany TV on my Instagram and even my websites, I'm really honing down on two things we are going to work on this year, this season, in this podcast. And you'll see this consistently in all of my other offerings because these two things are super critical. One of which was kind of brought on by that particular post going viral, if you will, and just the feedback that I've gotten so far since that time and the type of content that I've been putting out and what's being reaffirmed. So there are two things that we're working on here, two pillars that you're going to see as really kind of reiterating over this season in Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff. The first is relationship enhancement. Obviously, right? We got to focus on relationships, how to enhance our relationships. And this isn't just, we won't just be talking about romantic relationships. These are all relationships. So it could be relationships with your family, relationships with your children, relationships with your parents, relationships with coworkers and friends, obviously intimate relationships, romantic relationships, and your relationship with self, spiritual relationships, more connectedness, all of those things. So if there is some relationship repair that needs to happen, if there is some relationship improvement that needs to happen, if there is relationship evaluation that needs to happen, and also dissolution, if there are relationship changes that need to be adjusted or managed, those are the things that we're going to be talking about, because I believe that we need to work diligently and strategically, intentionally on enhancing our relationships, because our relationships are a huge part of our lives, our well-being, our growth, and our development. So relationship enhancements, first pillar. The second pillar is intentional self-care. Y'all know I am a self-care pusher. I love self-care. I would love for us all to be more intentional about our self-care. I think that many of us think about self-care as, oh, I'm going to go get my nails done or my hair done, or, take a hot bath. And while those things are fine, they were probably things you're going to do anyway. And while you're doing those things, you're probably multitasking and not really being present in the moment while those things are happening. When I say intentional self-care, I want the self-care to be goal directed. I want your self-care, setting an intention, and we'll talk about this a little bit. I want it to be something that you're going into the experience with a specific expectation on how you will improve, how you will feel, how you will come out better after having participated in whatever self-care experience that you have. We have to be more intentional about our self-care. At this stage in our lives, at this big age, we must be laser focused on taking the absolute best care of ourselves, for longevity, for just quality of life. We have to. We don't have the luxury of not taking better care of ourselves in 2024. It's non-negotiable. So relationship enhancement, intentional self-care, the episodes that are coming out and coming forth on this season of Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff, they're going to be centered around one of those two things. And you're going to hear me talk about both of those two things throughout the season, because that is where I'm coming from. As last season, I'm super intentional about the individuals and guests that I invite on the podcast, because I want them to bring it, but I want them to be aligned. I want their messaging. I want their interviews to be aligned with what you're coming here for. And so I'm telling you now, right? I'm telling you now, this is a podcast that is all about setting killer intentions and intentionally really focusing in on our self-care. This is a podcast that is about ways in which we can enhance our most important relationships. That's what you're going to be getting from this season of Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff. So in saying all that, and before we go today, I want to make sure that I give you a free resource that I've also created during the break. So another thing that I worked on during this time, as I've been looking at ways in which I can revamp and kind of consolidate all of the things that I've been doing. One of the things that I love doing, and we did a couple of times, I think at least 2 episodes of last season were on meditation. That's something that I really like to do. I've long, created meditations for my clients and used to do hypnosis back in the day, which is a whole nother subject. But no, meditation I really love. And so having done that for you guys on the podcast, go back and listen. Season 1, there's some great meditations there. I decided that that was a digital product that I wanted to start offering to those of you who are a member of the website and follow and or follow over on social or any of that stuff. So I created a couple of meditations in that time period, but as we closed out 2023, looking into 2024, one of the things that I wanted us to do is to start setting intention. Now, you guys know, many of us do resolutions, right? At the beginning of the year. January, big vision board month. People are having vision board parties and, laying out their clippings and all of the things that they want to do and accomplish in the coming weeks, months, years. I don't want to say that I don't believe in resolutions, and I don't want to say that I don't see the value in vision boards, because I see the value in both. What I think is a little problematic and doesn't necessarily always, the reason why those things don't always work out, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do them, because I definitely think they have value and I definitely think you should. But the reason why some of us don't stick to those things and the reason why we don't see those things come to fruition is because we set it and forget it. I think that sometimes, especially with resolutions, we'll say something like, hey, I want to lose weight, right? Beginning of January. But then we don't really craft a plan for losing said weight. You can't just say, I'm going to lose weight and then be like, but I got to finish eating what's in my refrigerator or my pantry. I just went to the grocery store. It's fully stocked. Or, I'm not going to meet with my doctor to discuss my numbers. Like, I just know I need to lose weight. I'm not going to do any of that kind of stuff. You're not necessarily setting short-term goals, the short-term goals that you need to accomplish the long-term goal, which was what you put on your vision board or what the resolution is. So all I'm saying is, if we're going to set resolutions, if we're going to go the avenue of vision boarding or any of that kind of stuff, that we need to be super intentional about the goals that we're setting for ourselves and give us small milestones along the way of setting those goals. So back to the weight loss example. And I'm not saying that anybody needs to lose weight. Okay. I'm not saying that. You have your goals, you know what they are. But if we're using weight loss, right, as an example, perhaps I set a monthly goal. Not just, I want to lose 15 pounds or I want to lose, 20 pounds by the end of the year, whatever that is, right? But saying, you know what, in January, I'm going to make a point to meet with my doctor, talk to him about my weight, discuss what a healthy weight would be for me, get blood draw and levels done on all of my numbers so I know exactly where I am when I start. And that is all I'm going to commit to doing for January. Not to say that you can't do more than that, but I've made it a goal that I actually see myself attaining, because really all I got to do is show up. I got to call the doctor, make an appointment, and show up. Then in February, I may say, okay, I'm going to ask my doctor for some referrals to perhaps a nutritionist, perhaps a weight management coach or a health coach. I'll ask my doctor if there are some supplements and vitamins that I need to be on or explore, or, any other types of support, and initiate contact and set up meetings and do what you need to do with those folks, right? That's your February goal. Then month 3, March, right? Perhaps you set a different goal. Okay, I'm going to start by setting my Move app on my phone and making sure that I do hit a certain number of steps, because those number of steps are correlated with, maybe 1 pound a month or something like that. So I'll start doing that in March. I will start trying to clear out. I'm going to start, also in March, clearing out every piece of crap that's in my pantry, things that are unopened and can be donated. I'm going to donate them. I'm going to replace anything that I move out. I'm going to replace it with a healthier option. All of those things, So you're setting up monthly goals rather than the one big goal, because that big goal is getting you lost in the sauce. That big goal is having you feeling overwhelmed because you didn't set those small goals. So when I say being intentional, what I mean is letting the universe, letting God, letting the people around you know what you expect to happen positively in your life, right? It's not just that I'm going to lose weight. It's that I am going to feel better having lost the weight. I am going to lose it with ease. I am going to, look in the mirror and tell myself how beautiful I see myself as being, no matter what weight I weigh. I'm going to encourage myself and understand that this is not going to be the easiest process, but I've done hard already in other areas of my life. So I know that I can overcome this. We're going to speak positively to ourselves. We're going to give ourselves grace. And we're going to understand that we can do it. We can achieve it, but we have to set an intention in order to do so. So the one thing that I did create over this, I be going around the barn, honey, off on tangents. So the one thing that I created several things, but there is a absolutely free resource that I will put in the bottom of the show notes for you. And it is all about setting intentions, setting not just intentions, but killer intentions that slay the day. Because it's not enough to set an intention and say, hey, I want to do this, but let's make it pop. Let's make it pop. Let's make it the best intention that you could possibly set. So you're going to learn about with this free resource. It's a series of probably, I think, 3 emails. That's it. So I'm not bombarding you with a whole bunch of emails, but when you sign up, you'll get the first email. And that first email is all about the benefits of setting intention. The second email is about key elements of setting intention. So I'm not even just telling you like I did just now, okay, here's an intention. I'm giving you step by step the languages you need in order to set killer intentions, intentions that just absolutely make your day great. The third and final email in the series is an offer for a humongous discount, an absurd discount on my guided meditation, which is dancing out of bed. And that is a meditation for setting killer intentions first thing in the morning. If you give me I think it's 12 minutes, I'm only asking you to wake up 12 minutes earlier. Now, as someone who hates getting up in the morning, if I can do this, you can do this. Okay. Just get up 12 minutes early. Set your intent. You listen to the meditation. When you're done with it, you'll be able to write your intentions out. And you will be able to move forward in your day with purpose, with direction, with guidance, with knowing that everything is going to work out just fine, if not better, because you've already set the intention. And it doesn't mean the bad things won't happen, right? It doesn't mean that if you set your intention, you won't get into a car accident. If you set your intention, you won't be late for work. What it does mean is I've set my intention. So I know that no matter what bad happens to me, no matter how many stoplights I hit, no matter if I get pulled over for speeding or whatever, that I know all of it is happening in order to protect. Perhaps I got pulled over because I was going too fast, and the universe, God, my higher self, did not want me to get into an accident and just wanted me to sit quietly and breathe for a few minutes, right? So understanding what intention is, the benefits, the key elements, and the ability to meditate your way through and have a killer, killer, killer awesome day. So I'll put that information in the show notes as well. And that's it, guys. Like we've got a great season ahead. Some amazing interviews, some beautiful people who are really doing the Lord's work, honey, and sharing their experiences with us so that we can learn through Him. I do believe that the bulk of what we experience is not about us at all. It's about others and what others can learn through our testimonies and through our experiences. So understand that when you hear the stories that you will hear in the coming, and the education, the information that you hear in the coming weeks on Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff, it's all here for you. It's all here for you. We've been very, very diligent and particular about curating the guests and experiences that you'll have, so that they do fall into those two pillars that we talked about, the relationship enhancement and intentional self-care, because those are two pillars that I believe are super important to you, your health and well-being. I want to thank you for listening to this first episode of season 2 of Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff podcast. You can find us on all of the podcasting platforms, the Spotify, the Amazon Music, Apple. You can also watch, that was a big thing last season, and I wanted to make sure that we were able to do that again this season. The ability to be able to watch our podcast as well as listen, so you can get in where you fit in. If you're someone who, doesn't necessarily listen the moment it comes out, but likes to turn it on while you're cleaning the house on a Saturday morning, we're here for you. And we love that. Come clean my house on a Saturday morning. I love that too. But yeah, listen wherever you can, because chances are we are there. And also view the podcast. You can view it on Spotify, and you can view it on YouTube as well. Our podcast is on YouTube as well. So just, follow us at Intimate Details Podcast over on Instagram or Facebook. You can also follow me at Dr. Tiffany TV. Don't forget to like this episode, comments, because this is a community we're trying to build here. So I would like to talk to my peoples. Comment, share our podcast with those who you think can benefit from it, and then certainly subscribe, because that is how we can keep doing the things that we're doing and putting out the content that we're putting out. So I love you so much. Thank you so much for being patient with me while I got my shit together. And it came back. I made it back. And I thank you for listening to me ramble today. And just know that the episodes to come, they're fire. They're fire. And I love you. All right. Ciao.